Happy Freaky Friday from the Podcast Daily. That's Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward, and Ohio State has two recruiting camps in the books. Berm, what should we have learned on Thursday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center?
We learned that the interest from number one ranked defensive lineman, number one ranked overall player in the class of 2026, Jaem Stewart from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is real. You don't come to Columbus, Ohio from Baton Rouge 3 times in 6 months. You don't spend 6 hours out here on the fields working with Larry Johnson if you're not serious about what you're learning and if you're not serious about the opportunity that this place presents itself. I think right now it's probably a 3-team race between Ohio State, LSU, and USC, but the Buckeyes are very much in the mix. And the nice thing about it is that, A, he's a 2026 prospect who's very likely to reclassify to the class of 2025. So you have 5 months of chaos ahead instead of 18 months of chaos ahead, which is nice. But also in the NIL world, you just take a swing at a player like that. It's not a guy that 10 years ago Ohio State would have tried to recruit, but now, why not?
I'm just asking, isn't NIL got to be why USC is in the conversation with?
Yeah.
I don't see any other way that they fit in with LSU and Ohio State in that battle.
No, that's why Ohio State's in it, though. There is this notion that kids from Louisiana never leave Louisiana, and that's not true. They never leave Louisiana and go north. However, they do go south, they stay south, but now we live in a world where you can open that door. USC is trying to convince people that they're going to play defense, which, yeah, right. And Ohio State is trying to convince people that Larry Johnson's not retiring anytime soon. And there are very few players in the country that I think have the upside and the I really would like to work with that type of player ability / vibe that Jaem Stewart has, that maybe could keep Larry Johnson here for 4 more years, because that's the type of kid who, seeing him today, 6'6", 270 pounds. Brian Hartline joked this morning, he's like, shouldn't he be playing offensive tackle? And then you see him move as a defensive lineman. He's still raw. That's the beauty of it. But all the tools are there. He's crazy explosive for a kid his age. Not sure why they're getting really loud out here, but we've watched players like that come through here before, and the way that the coaches respond to them is just different, and it's fun.
Bill, what do you think of his performance over there?
What? I thought it was good. I saw him when I walked in. I was like, that was a tight end. I like to see him play with the ball in his hands a little bit, but he does move incredibly well from 6'6", 270. I think definitely a tackle, right? I don't know if he bends the way the best edge rushers in the country do, but can run through a lot of people. He's quick for sure at that size. So if you come with expectations of what you think a guy who's ranked number 1 in the country might look like, he checks a lot of the boxes for sure.
I don't know what the long-term projection is, if it's a Calais Campbell type interior,
Chris Jones kind of guy.
Chris Jones type, maybe like that, but he can do a lot of different things, and the Buckeyes are very much in the mix. That's takeaway 1. Takeaway 2 is just, this is almost Tavian St. Clair's program in some way right now. Him and his family are here all the time, but the way that he walks around here, he's the ambassador. Brady Edmonds, a 2027 quarterback from California who's here on Thursday, they brought over Tavian to meet him instead of here's Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin trains with Danny Hernandez in California, which is the same trainer that Brady Edmonds trains with. Instead of bringing out Julian or Will Howard or Devin Brown, who are all here, we'd like to meet Tavian St. Clair. And then, you see his little brother Rain here. I love camp days. I gush about it all the time. But today was super casual, which I'm a fan of.
I remember being out here when Tavian St. Clair was working out last summer on this field. And you're like, well, that's not even, there's no way that's the same kid from the previous year, now 2 years ago. And you add 1 more year of just physical development and maturity, and then the stuff that you're talking about that you can't really quantify, Berm, the way he carries himself, the interactions that he has, the way that he relates to whether that's Nate Roberts or somebody that he's never met.
Or RJ Day, who's pailing around with the whole time. Reminiscent of CJ Stroud and RJ a couple of years ago, who just never were separate. Yep. So it's a really cool dynamic.
It's a really interesting one too, because you have an in-state quarterback an hour away who can come whenever. Yeah. He's going to be invested in that throughout the whole process. At least that's the goal for Ohio State and for Tavian St. Clair. And again, how to put a number on what that means to Ohio State, I don't know, but it's certainly valuable in some form.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, he's probably not quite his program yet, right? but he does feel like
June can be his month.
Feels like he's got the keys.
This time of year, it does feel like he's got the keys. That's for sure. And we did not have the best vantage point on Thursday to watch him throw, unfortunately, but I've seen him throw plenty of times. I was watching him tossing around just a little bit kind of before the camp started. The ball jumps off his hand, man. It is very different, and like part of that is just the physical maturity that he's made over the last couple of summers. Just allows him to generate a lot of power effortlessly. And at one point, he started throwing the ball left-handed, and that looked pretty good. But to show you like what kind of a freaky athlete you're dealing with.
Look better than it should.
Look better than I can do it. I know that.
Tavian left this afternoon. He's going to Youngstown with his brother. His brother's going to camp up there, but then he'll be back this weekend along with Nate Roberts, who's not here for his official visit. He's going to come back in 2 weeks, but he's spending the weekend here to help recruit. Came in from Oklahoma by himself, no parents, just came into camp, and then to recruit for Ohio State this weekend as they host 10 official visitors, including top-ranked safety Fahim Delane, three commitments, including Cody Haddad and Desi Jones, a wide receiver from New Jersey. Quincy Porter, wide receiver from New Jersey, is going to be here this weekend. He's like on the offensive side of the ball, not a guy we talk about a lot, but he is very different than all the other receivers they're recruiting because he's like 6'4", and every other guy that they're recruiting in the class of 2025 is like 6 foot. So Porter doesn't get talked about a lot, but he's a priority for Brian Hartline, and that will be like the task for Tavian St. Clair and Nate Roberts this weekend. 3 offensive linemen, Andrew Sargle from Georgia is a center, Javen McFadden from Washington, D.C., a guard, Jackson Lloyd from California, a tackle. They would take all 3 of those guys this weekend if they asked, if they were allowed. So Damian Shanklin from Indianapolis, defensive end who's visited LSU and is now very high on the Tigers. Like, it's a very, very key weekend for Ohio State, and it started today.
Bill, you made, I think, a pretty interesting comment about in-state targets or in-state prospects on the offensive line. I wonder if, like, throw that out and what Berm thinks. How much you agree on that?
Oh yeah, Berm, you would know more than I do. It just, and this is about 2026, less so than 2025. But being here the last 2 days, and I know that there are in-state linemen in the class of 2026 who have not been here yet, and maybe they won't get here this summer. But it feels like Ohio State can do almost all of its work in 2026 in the offensive line in-state, and I wonder if this is, or if that cycle is perhaps the most Ohio State caliber offensive line talent the state has had in some time.
Probably a decade.
Yeah.
You have Will Conroy at St. Ignatius. You have Max Riley at Avon. You have kid's name always escapes me. He was here yesterday.
Adam.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Washington Courthouse. Adam Guthrie.
Yeah. Guthrie.
You have those 2. You have Sam Greer at Akron Hoban. So you got 4 guys in the state that already have an offer. I don't think any of them are going to camp this summer other than Guthrie on Wednesday. It's just not what they do. They're all working with individual trainers that are suggesting there's no value in going to do that, which, I guess they already have an Ohio State offer, so you're not in a position where you have to go earn it. But they could take those 4 in the state of Ohio, and then Champ Smith, who's from the same high school as 2025 commit TJ Alford, he loves Ohio State, and I think that he could probably end up being in the class of 2026 by the end of the summer, and then you're done. And it's actually shaping up very interesting. Thursday, one of the things that happened, Ohio State offered Jaden Ricketts, a wide receiver from, my brain is just fried. Watkins Memorial. I told you that 20 minutes ago. They offered him. They've offered 3 in-state cornerbacks that we talked about on the Thursday show. You've got 4 offensive linemen in the state. When you have, like in the 25 class with Devin Sanchez and Neem offered, for example, and then Dorian Brew, who they're hoping to bring into the fold, you have what I would call 3 very like high dollar corners. So if you get fortunate enough, you get fortunate enough to have 3 in-state guys who maybe you get a at-home discount in the class of 2026, you have to take it. And so if you're looking at 25 on the offensive line in the same way, when you're maybe taking 5 guys, 4 of them from out of state, and the one guy that's in state's a 5-star offensive tackle in Carter Lowe, you have to budget a little bit. And it might work out great for Justin Fry in that cycle if that's how it works out.
Yeah, because they're not lesser players.
Right.
They're just kind of a stroke of luck, I guess.
Yeah, they are willing to probably take less to play at Ohio State. And that's important because money is not never ending.
The current offensive linemen were also quite invested in what happened on Thursday.
And I don't know if Ohio State's going to offer Darius Gray from Richmond, Virginia. He's another 2026 kid.
I bet you they do.
One of the better offensive line performances I've seen here. And if you look at him, you would not expect it because he's pretty small. Like, not small, but he's, well, I don't know. He's short in stature. He's like listed as 6'3". Maybe he's like 6'2". He was also standing next to Jaem Stewart, who was the biggest person I've ever seen in my life. But they went up against each other 7 times in one-on-ones. And Darius Gray won clean 5 times. And it was like the buzzer sounded, camp was over. Tim Hinton's calling all the campers over to the block over to say his speech. They had one more rep on the line. Stewart versus Gray. Everyone around them like cheering before the snap count. And Gray won again.
And then the defensive line, current Buckeyes, were like, "No, do it again, do it again." Like, no, we're good here. We're calling it.
It was really impressive. Like, just super strong player for a guy who's in the class of 2026 and like not the biggest guy in the world. I was kind of blown away a little bit by it.
The lesson is like from Wednesday with Jake Cook. When you see that today, if you're a parent and you have a kid who wants to come camp at Ohio State, maybe, and 98% of the kids out there are not good enough to play at Ohio State, and everyone knows that. But even if they're just coming to camp, if you go harder than everyone else, you're going to stand out at a place like this. So if your kid is wanting that opportunity, just work harder than everyone else. And the coaches always recognize it. They always know the guy that's been taking more reps. They always know the guy that is grinding harder than the other ones.
Yeah, I think it was a Bill Landis Thursday at the Woody. Like with all that, there were 8 offensive linemen for Ohio State out there, which was great for me to catch up with some of them and see what they're working on. Donovan Jackson had been out on Wednesday. He was out both days.
Did you tell him he's better looking?
No, I left that out of the conversation. I think one of us saying that is probably enough.
Yeah.
We can all
One might say too much.
I'll bite the bullet.
we might endorse it with you, but we'll just let you.
He just looks handsome. He's always been such a fine young gentleman, but now he just looks like a dapper. Yeah, just looks dapper. He's got the dreads. He's got the nice beard.
You know who looks like a stronger young gentleman? Luke Montgomery.
Yeah, I actually thought he looked a little thinner, but stronger, if that's possible.
I think I said it in the spring, and I'm jealous, like, of anyone that still has a baby face. Like, Luke Montgomery still had that. It's one of the things. It's a weird thing for me to say about another human.
Yeah, what's weirder? That you say Luke Montgomery has a baby face, or that I say Donovan Jackson's more handsome than he used to be? Damn it.
That one, I think.
Well, I lost.
It's like a reminder that it's one of the things that I can point to. It's like, hey, remember this guy's only been on campus for like a little over a year, and he's growing up in real time and physically getting stronger. So, does that mean anything in August? Of course not. I can make that caveat over and over and over, but we did say, Bill, like from April 15th until August 1st, he was probably the most intriguing person on Ohio State's roster to see what the transformation looked like.
Yeah, I think you saw that with some guys I thought Tegra Shabola had like a really good April to August last year, but kind of put in the position to push for something as a sophomore. And Luke definitely has an opportunity. It's like I wasn't writing him off at all when at the end of spring it kind of felt like maybe he had given up some ground in that competition at right guard. I fully expect them when the pads come back on in August and camp starts that even if Luke's not the number one guy out there on day one, like he's going to be part of that battle because they just do so much work in the time in between spring ball and camp to really better themselves. And we don't talk about it a whole lot because we don't see it. We don't talk to guys much during that span, but it's really important. It's probably not quite as important as the winter conditioning period, but it's really meaningful for guys if they take it seriously. It seems like Luke is.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Donovan Jackson continues to be very well put together. Josh Fryer, are you ready to see it my way? He's not.
No, whatever.
He's whatever?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He looks like an offensive lineman.
He does. He does look like an offensive lineman. Also,
don't try to jump on the Josh Fryer train like I wasn't the conductor of this damn train for years.
What?
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
You guys can both be the conductor.
He's trying to co-opt my train.
I don't want your train.
Unbelievable. Well,
anyway.
Weekend's here. Big official visit weekend. Try to track through what happens then on Sunday and into Monday. 3 camps next week, sorry. It's going to be busy time of year.
Can't wait.
Yep, love it.
Do some more content next week. Enjoyed an opportunity to actually be out and talk to coaches, talk to Buckeyes, have Berm get in his element. June is off to a flying start, and we've got a lot more coming on the podcast daily throughout the rest of this month. So thanks for joining us all week. Enjoy your weekend. For Bill Landis and Berm, I'm Austin Ward. We'll talk to you again on Monday.